Hey, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Conversation, another good conversation. I'm so excited for today's conversation. Parents, especially parents, you need to hear this because this is going to be vital to safety for your kids, what to look for, all of that. My guest tonight, him and I are going to really dive deep into talking about safety and all those things, and things that they can possibly get into and you can get them into to keep them safe and to keep them out of trouble this summer. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce my guest for this evening. He is a fellow Memphian like myself. Both of us are actually residents of the great state of Texas by way of Memphis, and we stay in Dallas. But I'm gonna let him introduce himself, Mr. Daniel Moody Senior. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, Kev. Glad to be on tonight. Thank you so much for opening up your platform, and thank you for your listeners and those that are viewing tonight, man. I'm so grateful. Yes, I'm from the city of Memphis, been here in Texas now since 2008, and God has been doing a great thing in my life and the life of my family. So we're really enjoying it here, man. I'm so appreciative of you. And we also share as veterans, and then we also share together that we attend the same ministry. So we have a lot that we do together and how we operate in each other's lives, Kevin. So thank you so much for enjoying invite me out tonight.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, if you would just tell the listeners, those who will see this and view this, as far as what your background is. I'm learning something new. I didn't know that you were licensed in Tennessee as well. I saw that, see that by your name, but just tell the viewers your background.
Um, I am a former active duty Marine. I've been working with churches. One of my specialties is church security, where I travel throughout the country and I've traveled abroad to train churches to establish security teams, as well as if they have security teams, we just brush up on what they don't have in their arsenal. We help get them aware of the state laws and how to protect not only the man of God, but the house as well as those the people. I'm a licensed instructor for concealed carry or open carry, if you will, in the state of Tennessee as well as Texas. It's a little bit different in Tennessee than it is in Texas. I'm also a licensed instructor for those that want to become a security officer. Part of what I do as well is manage my own crisis management coordinator, meaning if you're having a large event, you need somebody to manage it, or whether it be a conference, a concert, or anything like that. We manage those as well as we prepare you for crisis, whether it be natural, like a storm, tornado, fire, anything like that, or active shooter situations, things like that. Just bad PR, something happens in the church and you need to get a statement out there. We manage those as well. But I do a little bit of everything, but most of what I focus on is crisis management and safety and security.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna dive in. We were already diving in before the show started, but let's talk about safety. Let's talk about what parents can do when it comes to their kids this summer, because summer is just starting. The kids are out of school. Um, I just I want to do this show to really enforce the importance of being safe during the summer. I hate turning on the news. I hate going on social media and seeing that somebody done got shot, a kid undid this or whatever, trying to get likes on TikTok and all of this. But trying to stay safe during the summer. Let's just talk about that and just talk, and you just bring up whatever you want to bring up as far as when it comes to safety and what the parents can do to keep their kids safe.
I think the biggest thing that I see when it comes to children that's missing today is a sense of community. Kevin, when I came up and you came up, we could ride our bikes or run or do whatever and be 5, 6 blocks from the house. There was no cell phones at that time, and nobody was worried about us because mom could call around enough. She's going to find a neighbor that see you. And if you did something and got out of line, that neighbor was going to make sure you get back home. So I think the biggest thing we need to do as parents is create a sense of community around our children, right? To where whether they're at home, in school, at church, or what have you, that there's somebody that we trust that's going to keep our children on the right path and going to let us know. And we trust their voice. So if they say, hey, I was at the mall with you today and I saw Tiana there and she was doing X, Y, and Z, and it's not you get mad at me for telling me that, I trust your voice. I think that's the biggest thing, is being able to trust other people when it comes to what's being said or done about your child. The other thing I would say is situational awareness. Sometimes we buy tickets and we send our kids to these events and we drop them off and we go home and we have done no background check on what type of event is this, how many people are they expecting, is it outside, is it inside, do they have adequate security, do they have, are they checking bags, are they doing, metal detectors, what are they doing to keep my child safe? We don't look into any of that. So I think parents, we got to do a little bit more to ensure that not only are we preparing our children when we send them out to make sure they're not acting a fool, but are the people you're handing them off to, have they prepared a safe place for your child?
Okay. So when you talk about background, one of the things that I thought about is when you talk about trust, like judging the situation. And I think, when parents say, hey, I'm gonna let my kids go and hang with these people because I know them, but you don't know the surrounding of where they're going. You just know the people they're going with, but you don't know what the surrounding is. And I think about the thing I think about is what happened in Las Vegas a year or two ago. They were just going to a concert, and there you go, have a active shooter. It's you never know, and you can never be safe. And so one of the things I always think about, being a veteran, is to always watch my six. I'll watch somebody else's six, because you just never know what can happen. And I want you just to go into that. If you see something, say something. I think, we've heard that, but I don't think a lot of people practice it like it should be.
Yeah, I think that number one, and I do this with all of my clients, because part of what I do is provide executive protection for people in various lifestyles, whether it be religious community, secular community, politics, what have you. We do that. And one of the things that we do, to make your point, is we already talked through the what ifs. So if you're dropping your child off at, let's say, that concert you was talking about, you should already have a code word. When you see your child calling, if you pick up the phone and your child says blue, blue, blue first, that means mama or daddy, I need you to stop what you're doing. There's an emergency. So you already have a key word, because sometimes you pick up the phone and we're laughing because we somewhere, or we're doing whatever, and we're not paying attention to what's being said on the other end. There needs to be a code word that lets you know this is serious. So if the child can't get you, they can text blue, 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 and something is not right. If you can, and your child is going to a big event like that, pull up the school or wherever they're going and try and see if they have any schematics online to allow you to see where all the doors and entrances and exits. I know that's a lot, but that's the world we live in, right? And then how do you get to your child? If something were to happen and I have to get back to the school, they're probably going to have the streets closed. So how close can I get before I can get out and walk? And do I have identification on me to show that I'm so-and-so? All of those things. So you have to remember that. Do your child have identification? Do your child have a cell phone? When if your daughter's going and she carries the purse, do she have a whistle? Do she have a flashlight? Does your son have a flashlight in his pocket? Because if the lights go out and if it's smoke in the building, they can't see. They may have their phone, they may drop their phone. So now they don't have the light on the phone. So the little things like that to prepare them that any event, if something happens, this is some of the stuff you should do. Not only that, when you go into a facility, how far are you sitting from the door? You need to know that. So if a fire breaks out and it's smoky and you can't see or whatever's going on, you know you're 20 steps from the door, 20 steps to the right, and then turn left, and you're 5 steps and you're out. So you need to know that when you're going to places. But just situational awareness is the biggest thing. What time does it get dark tonight? So your child knows that and you know it. Even if you're going to the mall somewhere, what time does the mall close? How dark is it? Where am I parking? Is there a well-lit area? Is there a well access? Is there a lot of access to it? If you come out of a mall or something like that, and there's a van parked near your vehicle and it's dark outside, are you getting in that car? Or are you going to go back in and ask for a guard to walk you out? Just little things like that, situation where knowing your surroundings.
Okay. Yeah. So when you talk about situational awareness, it's definitely it's something out of place. One of the things that I remember being in the military, if you see a backpack somewhere and it's not supposed to be there and nobody picks it up at a certain time, you're going to automatically think, okay, that's not where it's supposed to be. So now we got to do some investigation. So definitely thank you for saying that. Now, when I think about some other things and I jotted some stuff down, when kids go to concerts and when they go to the amusement park, Six Flags and all of that, I always think about when you take a group of kids and you got 1 or 2 adults, it's to be on the lookout because, a kid can be snatched up in a minute. And so how do they, because you're just going to enjoy yourself as a family, but you get so wrapped up and one of your kids might stay behind and try to tie a shoe and your focus is on everyone else in your group. So how does one, make sure that everyone that came with them to the park leaves with them after they get done with the park?
I think that's a conversation you're going to have with that group going. If you guys go to the bathroom, then we go in pairs. Not only that, I'm going to stand outside and I'm going to wait. Sometimes as adults, we'll go sit down and get something to drink or eat and let them run off and go ride some rides and things like that. We're just in a day and time where that may not be possible, where you can do that. But what I tell parents is we don't have to totally get to where we're in this almost cage to where it's a prison environment where, you can't go here. You can put an air tag on your child, put it on their shoe, put it in their pocket. Even if you're going swimming, you can stick that air tag inside their swimming trunks. You can put it in their shoe. You can put it in their backpack, whatever they're doing. Stick it down in their pocket. And then if they run off somewhere, you just open up your phone and you see where they are. So we can use technology to help us, right?
Okay. So when you start talking about pairs, Mr. Moody, I thought about, in the Army, they always say, take your battle with you.
Battle buddy.
And yeah. And so, what that's a good point. Because I feel like, you always should go somewhere with someone. You should never just walk around. Even I know us being in church, we always tell our kids, hey, don't just walk somewhere by yourself. Make sure someone is with you, because just because people are in church don't mean that somebody might not just come to church just to be looking for something. And so you always have to be vigilant to make sure that. Now, I want to get into this because we dove into this prior to coming on here, but the community. I know you were talking about some stuff that they are doing here in Dallas, but I want to really stay on that because I feel like with the community, people can stay out of trouble. But if there's nothing for them to do, then how do they? They're going to look for something to do because kids are always, interactive and they're always trying to look for something to do. But if there's nothing to do and they're saying to themselves, man, I don't have nothing to do. And then somebody comes along and says, hey, why don't we go and do this? But it's not positive, it's negative. So now they're doing something negative versus trying to do something positive. So I just want to, talk about community and when we talk about community, what interactions, what organizations, what places can help ensure or help make sure that kids don't get into trouble or try to keep them out of trouble?
There are a lot of summer camps that's going on. The problem that we have is some of those summer camps charge money, and the parent just can't afford it, especially if
Right,
they have multiple people. So
right,
I think we have to do a better job prior to the summer coming, and a lot of parents do looking up programs that are free or more affordable. Uh, we forget about the Boys and Girls Club. Some of those are still open throughout the country, even in Frisco and other places, they're still open. I would also say, challenge to the parents, most of us go to church in our community. If we don't go to church in our community, we go to church somewhere. I would challenge my local church or challenge the church, even if I don't belong to that church in my community. I would challenge them to have something going on for teens throughout the summer, as well as local nonprofits, whether it be food banks or anything like that. Even our school system, kids are going to be out. What can we do as far as the school? And then your city parks and recreation. Do they have a budget? What are they doing? But we've got to get involved in that process. So, like we were talking about backstage before we came up, um, I think that should be a conversation between pastors, nonprofit organizations, private industry, city leaders, and things like that. That even if you say we can't do it at my church the entire summer, then let's have a central location and everybody pay into that location and ensure that we have food, material, whatever we're going to be doing, teaching, and then it'd be more than just a daycare, but it's going to be a learning process. It's going to do something that give you memories. I remember coming up in Memphis, and we had the Memphis Parks and Recreation Commission that fed lunch every day. We played games every day. We could go up to the local school or park, and they were there. I also remember, because I grew up in Whitehaven, where Fairleigh High School, their gym was open during the summer. You could go and play basketball. And then we had the boys club that you could go to the boys club all day long and be a part of boys club, girls club. We also had the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, the Cub Scouts. But that was community. A lot of things we've gotten away. So I think that it starts with us. Even if you say, well, I'm just one person, I can't make an impact. Tell that to the mosquito that's underneath the cover with you. One mosquito will make an impact. I can guarantee you that. So if you feel like you can't, think about that. One person can make an impact. We just got to try, and we've got to ask the right people and keep asking until you got the right answer. Because if we don't make room for these children, the gangs, the hustlers, and all of that stuff, it'll make room for them. It'll give them something to do.
Okay.
But in the city of Dallas, and I'm going to put this up on my page tonight and tomorrow, the mayor of Dallas have partnered with several businesses in the city of Dallas, but it's for city residents. You have to be a resident of the city of Dallas. And they've created these passes, free passes for a plethora of exciting places to go. I think Bahama, the water park, African American Music Museum, Perot Museum, just a ton of places where you can get free passes for your children. You do have to have identification and proof of residency, but all summer long, these free programs are going to be going on. Well, you can get free passes to these. Take your children, enjoy the water, enjoy the fun, do whatever you want to do. But I'm saying to parents, don't just drop your child off. Right. Because we know what happens when we drop a bunch of teens off and then they get to acting a fool. And next thing you know, we're looking at WFAA and the police are out there because kids act a fool. They had to shut it down. And now the mayor ended the program. So let's not ruin a good thing. This is the mayor, first time I've heard of it happening. So maybe this could be something that then Mesquite can do and Frisco and Plano and other places can do if they see that this program works in the city of Dallas.
But when I wanted to really talk about community, and I thank you for sharing that. I think about it does start with the community. It starts with us. Back in the day, we always used to say it takes a village to raise a child, and so as a village, as a community, we have to step in and we have to say, what can we do to help our youth out. But I think so many people don't want to get involved, or they don't want the hassle and the trouble or whatever comes with that, because there's already a set notion that's put in people's minds that, certain people are going to act a certain way, versus giving them opportunity and time to just, get to know them, because you never know the whatever thoughts that you have about a person can be wrong. But we already prejudge someone prior to actually getting to know them. And we have to take the time to actually get to know them, actually take the time to go out into the community and say, hey, you know, I know that you all are a struggling family. And I know that, most of the meals that you banked on was your kids at school, at least for breakfast and lunch, because you knew that for half of the year they were able to eat. And I think, and this is a segue into what I want to talk about next, which is, I look at it as crisis management, because of the fact that, food is important, and I've seen it and I see it every year when school is out. They start, trying to think of ways to get and make sure
Mhm.
that kids still continue to eat. And
Mhm.
I wish there was some initiatives out there. They do everything big in Dallas, but I'm not seeing that be a big thing in Dallas. And I wish that more people would think about the food ration that takes place, not only here in Dallas but everywhere. Parents are strapped, and so they depend on the the free meals and them going to school. People get up and get their kids to school just to get the breakfast, just to feed them, to make sure that they do eat. So they're eating, breakfast, they're eating lunch. Um, but I want you just to talk about, that, and just talk about what we can do to help when it comes to things like rational, when it talks about food, when it talks about other things that kids go through, when it comes to just having the necessary regular needs like deodorant. I was talking to one of my friends, and they was like, "Man, I have a thing of like a storage area where I keep certain things, because a lot of kids come to school, they don't have deodorant, they don't have a comb, they don't have the necessities that you think that you would that everyone would need. And so I feel like that's crisis management in that case. And so there's resources out there, but I think the biggest thing is that people don't share the information. Two, people are afraid to let people know that they're struggling, because pride gets in the way. But we all have to, again, going back to community, we all have to get involved with it.
Yes, man, I'm glad we're having this conversation because as you were talking, being a person that does crisis management, my mind is like going as you're talking, right? And I'm more in being private military, uh, solution oriented, right? I'm figuring out a way to make this happen. So when you were saying that, I was thinking, as men, why don't we create? It may not happen this summer. It may be too late because of our schedules and things. Maybe we can talk about it offline. We create a summer food program to where we work with food banks and private organizations as well as churches that for the duration of the summer, we're going to have a truck or a van or something and we're going to pack it with food. And every day we're going to drive around and we're going to feed children. And not only are we going to feed children, just like they used to do with me at Memphis Park Creation, we're going to play some games. We're going to do whatever. We're going to talk about life and we're going to keep it pushing to the next stop. But like I said
Mm.
about the mosquito, we can be the answer. And I believe that our children are waiting for us to be that answer. Black men, men, going into the community, ensuring that no more children are going hungry. Because I know it happens. My mom was a single mom, and there were days we didn't have stuff done for lunch. She did her best, and because of Memphis Park and Recreation, we were able to eat lunch. And then there were days we eat lunch at the house, but we had lunch with Memphis Park and Recreation. So I think that um, we can make it happen with the amount of people you and I know, and the other men that we know. And as you was talking, I was thinking of some organizations I know of that I've done security work for that I know would be game for as far as giving us food and things like that. And I would say not only do that, but it talks about teaching a man to fish. I would love for us to find some little spot, whether it be at a church or whatever, where we can create a garden and we teach these children how to grow food.
Mm.
And then we teach them how to cook. We could dream big, but I think we need to just do it.
Yeah.
Because
So
Superman ain't coming.
right, and and I think about crisis management because when there's a crisis, it's how do you manage that crisis? And I feel like it's a crisis in America right now, facing our youth. It's a crisis in America right now, where youth are, women, girls are being trafficked all over. You have young men, going to prison and thinking that, you know, holding a gun is better than, going out and doing something other than that. And so I feel like we have to get to a point to where when we talk about um, managing crisis, we got to start in our own neighborhoods. Like we people look beyond their own back door and they think about, oh, well, there's a
Yes.
crisis in the Middle East, there's a crisis there, but there's a crisis happening right in our own backyards. But we pay more attention to the superstars and what they got going on, and their own, families or whatever. But there's a crisis in our families. There's a crisis when it comes to a food shortage. There's a crisis when it comes to getting the proper supplies and education that we need. I always tell people, if you drive around the DFW Metroplex, you will see a vast difference from driving from over here where I stay at in Cedar Hill in this area to driving to Frisco. You'll see a big difference in how the schools look and how
Yes.
everything just looks towards that. And so for me, I just say that there is a crisis, but it starts in our community. And I think once we really start to um, figure that out and we start to talk and we start to have these conversations, I think that we can fix it ourselves. I, I, I,
Hmm.
I truly believe that at the end of the day, we have the power to fix it. But the
Yes.
thing is, do we want to fix it? We
Hmm.
always complain about it, but what are we going to do to fix it? And so that's why
Yes.
I want to have this conversation. I think that we continue to need to have these conversations in order for people to understand that we have a crisis and how can we fix that crisis through churches, through education, bringing and bridging the gap between understanding that it takes more than the parents, but it takes a community to be able to stop the crisis that is happening in our own backyard.
Yes. Yes. It takes us. It's take us working together. And man, it's critical right now. When you
Right.
look throughout the United States, um, and we can focus on urban areas, but all throughout this country, urban areas, black areas, white areas, especially poor and underserved, young people are dying every day, whether it be from gun violence, whether it be from silly acts, jumping in cars, racing. these TikTok challenges, things like that every day. And it needs to be addressed. And I think it starts with us. It starts with us, as you said, working within our communities, working within our own homes, working within our own organizations to ensure that we're addressing our youth. I think when it comes to these programs, as you was talking about, sometimes people don't want to do it because it comes with something else. If you're dealing with young people, it comes with, you have to be prepared, because you can get somebody that's got an attitude, all this other stuff, and they just being this problem. They want to talk back, they want to bristle up, all this stuff, and you like, man, you came to help somebody out, now you going viral because this kid tried to fight you. But I've done youth organizations. I had one of the largest youth ministries in Memphis. I used to be a youth pastor, and we had a lot of children, and it started with relationships, right? You build a relationship with the ones you have, and then you'll ask them, bring one, bring two. And when they bring in people you don't know, you tell that young person coming in, listen, what you just did, we don't do here. And if you're going to keep doing it, this will be your last night. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then they learn what our culture is. And then you build on top of that. You build a new relationship. And next thing you know, you got a community of kids that are coming that respect you and respect what you're doing. And they're willing to impart those things into other young people. But you know what I learned? Oftentimes you had to train the adults too, because they could be some of the problem as well.
Right. And it could very well be the problem, because one thing that I've seen and I learned is that my grandmom raised my mom a different way. My mom raised me a different way. Now our generation is raising kids a different way, but it's like somewhere after our generation, it just like the understanding of how things should be, of don't talk back to your parents, don't talk back to adults, don't disrespect adults. But it starts at home, and it starts with understanding that you just can't talk to an adult any type of way. But it also starts with what you said, relationships. Like I understand, because I've been working with kids for 20 plus years, that you have to build a relationship. You have to build a trust with them, because they're not going to sit up here and tell you everything and anything. But if you understand that at the end of the day, that they need someone, they need a father figure, they need a mentor, they need someone to help them. I think that helps. One of the things that I was thinking about as well, when you talk about relationships, it's not just kids, it's everyone. Like, how do you build this relationship with this person, for them to continue on this great path versus going negative? So when we talk about community, we talk about initiatives, and what you were talking about, I feel like it can help everyone. It can bridge the gap between people having negative attitudes towards one another, and children learn from adults. They watch and they see what we do, and so if we're acting a fool, that's going to play a part in how they act and react, because they're saying, well, my mom or my dad or this person did it, so I guess it's okay. But we have to set the example. We have to be the ones to go out there and say, hey, I'm going to do this in my community. I want to set this initiative in my community. I think so many things will be better, but people don't want to get up and do things anymore. And I feel like if we just got up off our tails, instead of, being on video games, being on TikTok, all these things, then we can really set a great initiative, to help people, strive to be better, to help young men to understand their place in life, to understand that they are more than what the media says. And I'm gonna get to that in a minute when you talk about PR and all that. But to understand that at the end of the day, we have to set a tone for them to be able to understand that, hey, somebody does care about you. I'm not looking at you, and because you wear a hoodie and you wear your pants hanging down, even though I don't like that. But the first thing that comes to my mind is it's definitely not that you're a thug. But for other people, they're gonna look at it that way. And so when I talk about crisis management, I feel like that's a crisis within our young men, older or younger, that no matter if you see us, color is going to scare you. You're going to clench your purse. You're going to feel some type of way because it's embedded in our minds that a certain culture, a certain color is going to do this to me. But that person can just be, a nice person, but that's what they want to wear that day. So it's just that understanding of doing that. Miss Ingrid, Diane said this. I moved from Duncanville to Frisco in 2013, and there was a vast difference. Yeah, I definitely know that there's a vast difference from Duncanville to Frisco. Go ahead, Mr. Moon. I know you want to say something.
I lost my train of thought. What was you saying? Because whatever you were saying was what I was getting ready to.
I was just, talking about, as far as us and us as a community.
Yeah. I know what it was.
Yeah.
When you was talking about us, just a quick story about that. Throughout the day, I'm in and out of different establishments doing what I do, right? And I established a relationship with this young man, young black guy, and so I see him in the mornings when I go into the facility he work at, and I see him, and so we chatted up a minute, and then I get on down. And so the other morning, I'm talking to him, and I asked him what hours he worked, and he told me, he said, well, yeah, I go to school. I said, oh, no, I didn't know you were in school. He said, yeah, man, I go to college. Here's where I go. I'm getting a degree in human resources, and then I want to get my master's from, and he's telling me. I said, okay, cool. He said, yeah, so once I get my degree, I'm going to go ahead and quit. And I said, why would you do that? He said, what you mean, Mr. Moody? I said, the company you work for is a very good company. I said, if you're getting a degree in human resources, why don't you then go back to them and say, hey, I'll stay here and work for the company, get a job within the company, because you're still going to need income when you're going to school. So rather than working in the position you're in now, you move over into management or something else because you got a bachelor's, or you move up in HR, and then you get the company to pay for your degree. So not only are you working, they're going to take over your student loan debt. And then if you have to give them a 5-year commitment or whatever, after that, you're gone. You're young. And he was like, Mr. Moody, I didn't think about that. I didn't really think about that. And a lot of times our young people are making decisions because they didn't think about that. And somebody didn't come and tell them. Well, see, I've had those experiences. And the Bible says that they overcame him by the word of their testimony. And I believe that God puts us in situations and we have certain experiences so that then we can go and share with that next generation. You don't have to quit your job, son, because you got a degree. They use you for 2 or 3 years. Now you allow this company. You get something out of it. Like when Denzel said, I'm getting something. I'm leaving with some nails or bricks or something. Hey, you got to get something out of it. And just up and leaving when that could be the very place that could pay your student loans off. Then you stay there and you do it. But I think what we need in our community is infrastructure that train and teach our parents, the adults, how to communicate to children, how to understand when children are having crisis, what that looks like, what it looks like when you're having crisis, things like that, triggers, and all of that. And so we can learn how to help our children. And then we create also our own community of help to where if they need clothes, they need tutoring, they need food or whatever, whether it's families or whatever needing, we have those things within our own toolbox.
So why do you think, I think about Black Wall Street. I always go back to that, and I think about how that happened back in the day. Why doesn't those things happen more now? And how can we get to a point? And all this ties back into, the topic, because these things can help you help kids stay out of trouble, and safety wise, like I always think about what is something that I can do to make an impact on the world, and what can we do to make an impact on the next generation, to where we have something to give to them and leave to them, a legacy, so they will be able to continue that legacy. And I feel like, when summertime comes, it's a vulnerable time for families, because you're out, it's hot, anything can happen, you're outside, and you just want to have a good time. And people always say, I go here expecting to have a good time, but it's always ruined because of somebody doing something crazy because they wanted to just get 10 seconds of fame. But how can we get to a point to where we start doing those things that kind of intertwine with, hey, summertime is coming, like you talked about the initiative of us joining together to do something to help families be able to feed their kids during the summer, be able to give their kids jobs, to be able to train and show them different ways, to help them understand that, hey, there's other things to do with your time other than standing on a street corner or going with the wrong crowd, because you have to be careful with the crowd that you hang with, and you have to be careful, when you're hanging with that crowd, what that crowd brings, and the thoughts and the judgment that crowd brings. And so, how can we get back to those times of being able to do those types of things, to where the youth and the next generation sees that?
I think a lot of it, to be honest, is going to take therapy. I think the Black community has never really gotten the therapy we needed, and we still see that in our community, and it's the remnants of slavery, because a lot of things that we do, how we talk to each other, how we treat each other, how we abuse each other, came out of slavery, was passed down, and it continues. And when you look at now how DEI programs and Black history, is being taken out of schools, and those, when you take away an identity of a people, then we fail to value that. You don't see other communities. I mean, you have, if you look in white communities, Hispanic, they do have similar numbers, but Black violence is sensationalized. Black failure is sensationalized. They'll show you the hood and the ghetto and things like that. They want to sensationalize that. So I think that we have to learn how to love each other, how to respect each other, how to believe each other, how to trust each other. When I get on social media and I see all these scams now where people, Black folk, and they using Black people to say, hey, you can get $6,500 stipend. Hey, you can get this, you can get that. And all it is getting you to put your information in. And now they got your information. You're not going to hear back from them again. And next thing you know, somebody's stolen your identification. But they're using Black people to do it. Hey, I can fix your credit. And they have no idea what they're doing. They just, it's just those type of things. We've got to expose those people that are no good for our community, and then start getting with people that are going to do right by our community. Because we can have a Black Wall Street, but do we trust it? I got to be able to trust it first. I had somebody call me about collaborating with some business, and I was skeptical because, we've seen so much happen. No, I'm not investing. I'm not giving you that. I need to see more before I trust that. And so I think we can have another Black Wall Street. I believe we have to have a conditioning of our mind, because our mindset is get a little money, go spend some money. Get up. We ain't gonna help nobody up. I got, Kevin got his own record label, but you won't give me a deal. Kevin got his own business, but then he knows that I sell lumber and you use lumber, but you won't go to me. You'll go over to somebody else instead of using my company. One of the things I was talking to somebody about, I believe that in the Black community, what we should do is people like Oprah and Tyler Perry and different people that have money, and then your grassroots people that are right here with us that have a little money or influence, need to create a black website that is registered with the Better Business Bureau, but the Black Chamber of Commerce National. And we have our own logo and what you call it, QR code, all of that. And
QR
those
code.
go in your window or wherever your business is on your web page, and it is a registered number. It is meaning that we have vetted your business. We know that you do legitimate business. We know that you have legitimate money going in and out, and we know that you're not going to scam people. And so if I come to you and you're a company, you're a contractor, and I want to use you to build my house, if I scan your QR code, it should be registered, go automatically to that website of whatever, whoever we're using for our organization to verify these companies. They pay for that logo, they pay for that access every year. They pay a certain amount of money they pay into the organization to be a part of it. And then we know I can trust Kevin Smith Construction because he's registered with the Black Business Bureau. And we do that across the nation as when we help build each other up, but we have to make sure this person is registered. And then if we start getting complaints, they get investigated. They get investigated and we find out they're not doing right, they get kicked out of the bureau. But we have to create a way of containing our money in our community. When you look at how much money churches are making now, and I don't mean to say make, but how much money churches and the influence churches have in the real estate and all the other things that we have, we should have a central place that our money goes that we say as a black market, that when our members come to you for a car loan, if their credit score is this or that, they get the loan. We leverage the credit power and the buying power of the church to help our members in our community. When we get ready to buy a house, we come into that bank. When we come to that bank, we expect a loan. But then we open our own banks and our own credit unions. But that's, to me, how we build power. We can talk about doing stuff all day. If you ain't got no money, you ain't doing nothing. It takes money, and money equals influence.
Right. Yeah.
And so when we build these institutions out and we keep money in our community, right now, when we get off of this, I got to go get something either to cook, I'm going to eat. Probably ain't going to be a black restaurant because there's nothing really around here that's a black restaurant that I like eating. I got to buy some gas. Ain't no black gas station around here. I got to buy groceries. No black grocery store around here. So my money is going to another community.
But I feel so. I appreciate you saying that, and I start thinking about, when we talk about safety and we talk about, what can we do for the youth and to keep them out of trouble. I feel like these are things, them learning these tools and getting them from people that can teach them during the summer. So when they go back, they have a better understanding. They have better knowledge of, oh, well, this is what I did this summer. I didn't go and do this. I might have hung out with my friends or went on family vacation, but I learned something. I learned how we can be an influence in the community, how we can actually do some things during the summer and create initiatives to where we are empowering our youth to be able to do something magnificent, to where we're saying to ourselves, okay, they're doing this, they're staying out of trouble. That you're not seeing them, always having to deal with the cops or whatever, but they're doing something during the summertime, and they're being able to utilize what they learned during the summer in school. And one of the things, and I'm gonna say this because I wrote it down. When you start talking about education, I always have to go back and say this. We teach back in the day, when I was growing up, education wasn't really pushed to go to school, go to college, but I still went. And I always, as I got older and I understood things, and I went to college for 1 year, and then I ended up going to the military. But I learned from that, and I said, man, I get the education piece, but college is not for everyone. But you have trade school, you have
Mm-hmm.
people learning all of these different careers. You need people that work in different industries that can come and fix your plumbing, that can come and fix anything that's going on within your house, your AC units. I mean, I know one of my frat brothers. He has his own AC um, company where he goes to fix, and he makes pretty good money, and that's just a side job for him. So I feel like, those are the things that can be done during the summer, but we have to have in the community those people to come and say, hey, I want to devote my time to show you how to do this. I want to devote my time to show you how to properly dress when you go on the interview. I want to devote my time to show you how to properly do X, Y, and Z. We have to start within our community, because that is how we're going to make an impact on our youth and make an impact in the world. But we have to start in our own communities, and we got to quit complaining and trying to keep up with the next person around the corner, and understand that at the end of the day, we're all trying to make it in this world. When I'm not trying to compete with you, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to show you that there's a better way. I'm not trying to get what you have, because what you have, God already has said and ordained for you to have. It's not for me, it's for you. And so we just have to get to that point. But I wanted to bring that up because when you talked about education, I had to jot down that it's so vital that, we help kids understand it's not about just going back to school. I would never say don't go to school and get an education, because I'm in college now, trying to finish up my bachelor's. But at the end of the day, there's more to getting and going to these trade schools and going to the military. Like, whatever you set your mind to do it, but do something positive to give back to your community, so you can come back and say, hey, I did this and I left this as a legacy and an imprint in this world. And so I just think about that, and how we can better ourselves for the future.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because a part of in our community back in the day, we used to have welding classes in high school, auto mechanics, building trade, which was carpentry. They had home ec, which you learn how to cook and wash
Yep.
clothes and do all those things. The powers that be deliberately pulled the budget on those in schools, took those programs out of high school, where our children, where we were getting skills that made us gainfully employable while we were in school and when we graduated. That if we didn't want to go to a 4-year brick and mortar school, we could go right into becoming a welder, right into becoming an electrician, HVAC, whatever it was, because we'd already got those skills in high school. And so they took those out, and it was all intentional in order to create for-profit schools. And that's when you begin to see these HVAC schools and automotive schools and all that spring up, because now you got to pay for that education you was getting free. So people started making money off of it. But you're right, we got to bring that back. And we can do that even, like you said, summer programs. That would be great to give them a skill, because I still have those same skills, man. When I was in high school, 11th grade, I was in building trade. In 11th grade, me and a friend of mine had our own roofing company. We had learned enough of how to replace a roof that we started doing roofs on the weekend and stuff. We'd be repairing roofs. We started doing sheetrock and all that in housing. I still have those skills today. So it's not like it's not possible. We can do that. And because some kids are not going to go brick and mortar, some kids are going to be technical school material, and that's great because they are now moving right into something that they feel is their calling, and they can use that to become entrepreneurs. So, like you said, your friend do it on the side and still make good money.
Right. Right. All right. So I wanna move into this because I feel like this is a big thing when we talk about PR. Um, media media gives people a bad rep. Um, and and I know that they're just doing their jobs. But I think that sometimes um, bad PR can really um, make or break someone. And I look at a person I was watching because I kept seeing the videos about it. Jonathan Majors and what happened to
Mm-hmm.
him, and
Mm-hmm.
how he um, because of one situation, it it impacted his whole career. And they were showing him getting a perseverance award. um I was watching the video last night, and it was showing him getting a perseverance award, and it just got me to thinking about PR and bad PR and bad media coverage of certain things. Now I know you say that you deal with PR. Like what do you deal with when it comes to PR, and how has that um, when it does come to PR, how has that been bad and good for people and for you? Because I know you've done security for famous people. I've seen it. We got a famous person on here because I've seen him be security for some famous people. So like just when it comes to PR.
Well, I think one of the biggest things when you're talking about is we already have a plan, right? Basically, I have a PR person that because often if I'm busy and something happens and we have an active shooter and that situation is resolved, then I'm probably going to be busy getting my conversation to the police department. Well, I have somebody that represents me that will go to the podium with everyone else and say, hey, my name is so and so, and I represent Diplomatic Safety Services. On today, this event happened, blah, 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 and then kind of tell our side of whatever happened. Um, it's so important that you have that. And I'll tell you, when you talk about the effects, part of me, again, with crisis management, that's a part of it. There was a church I was representing years ago, and I was representing them remotely. And one of the leaders called me and said, "Hey, we have this going on, and this guy, and he's online, and he's saying this about our leader." And I said, "Okay." And I looked who the person was. I looked up extensively into their background, and I said, "Hey, this guy really is trying to get a big name." I said, "And what he wants is because as soon as your leader starts talking back, your followers are then going to want to know who this guy is, and they're going to start following him, and it's going to be a situation where he's going to make this guy bigger. Just tell him to let it's going it'll die down." I said, "But leave it at that." I said, "Because he don't want to file, because he was talking about filing litigation." Well, the person didn't listen to me. They did it anyway. And when they filed litigation, that opened up the other guy to be able to do discovery. It asked for certain things, phone calls, emails, bank records, things like that. And then something came out that they didn't want to come out. So they made the situation worse. So I think when it comes to PR, we again have to know our surroundings, where we're going, who we're going to be with, and do we know that person? Like you was talking about being with celebrities. Before I accept a gig with a celebrity, I do a quick background check on them, and then I look at basically what's in the public that we already know, things that are not in the public. I call people that I know that know this person, that person. Hey, so and so called me about doing this. What do you know? Well, they don't pay well. Well, they got a drug problem. Well, they got, whatever the situation is. Then I make my determination, right? Well, if I can find it out, somebody else can find it out. And so it's very important because that's going to determine if I take the job and then what I'm going to charge, if it's just going to be me. So we need to do the same thing. If you're going to a particular place, who is this person you're going somewhere with? How do they behave in these type of environments? You're going into an environment that maybe they're not used to. And now you in there and they're acting a fool. And now you got to, Lord have mercy. You embarrassed because I brought this person in here and now they cutting up. So I think public relations, knowing how to get your message across, getting ahead of whatever the situation is very important. But first thing you got to do is game plan and make sure that you know where you're going, what you're doing, who you're with. Because sometimes the most dangerous person to you is you.
Right. So I gotta talk about this because when I think about the black community and I look at all these people who have become famous over the years because of their 10 seconds of fame. I think about the guy, with the fire. I think about ain't nobody got time for that. I think about all these things, and I look at the media, and I always say to myself, when it seems like the media covers black people more when there's negative than positive, and I feel like there has to start being more positive, but there is, but they don't capture that because they know that the big stories are gonna come with the negative versus the the important stories. Seeing someone get 200 some $1 million in scholarships and spreading that across. Being a top graduate at Harvard, being the first black female to graduate from this school. Like those are things to push out. But the only time that you can push that out is really through social media because the news won't push it out because they're looking for the next, story to help them and people get a bad rap. But when I think about it, and you think about kids during the summer, what are they going to do if you see a group of kids walking down the street, and they might just be headed to the Boys and Girls Club or to the YMCA just to play basketball. But in the eyes of someone else, they're about to get into trouble. There's already a notion and a bad PR rep on black kids. There's already just on black America. And so how do we change that dynamic? Because it's sad because we're already thinking one way without giving it a chance to prove us wrong. But even our own people think that. So we got to start in our own community to be able to say, oh, I see these group of guys and they're doing this. Instead of thinking they need to be somewhere, they need to be this, and they need to do this, but you're not even knowing because you didn't, one, take the time to stop and talk to them. Two, not prejudge them based upon what they're wearing and automatically think that you group everybody in um one category. But I just think that we already get a bad rep because when it comes to the black community, there's already bad PR in that anyway.
But I think that some of that too, we can help ourselves as far as young people and old as well, is how we present ourselves. If you're coming out with the hood down on your head, your pants down, all that kind of stuff, looking like you're looking to get into something, like you don't belong nowhere to nobody, people are going to have that perception. Is it wrong? Yes. But when we talk about situational awareness, who are you looking at? Are you looking at Kevin Smith that's got on a suit and carrying a briefcase and getting on in his car and going on about his business? He's black. Nope. I'm worried about this one over here with the pants down and the, crazy hair and all that stuff. And Kevin could be the one that want to rob you. But it's presentation. And so we have to think about that because anything can happen. When you talk about want to go up to YMCA, we can look, when you talk about news and stuff, look at Angel Reese. All she wants to do is play ball. And after every game, they're saying she did this to Caitlin. She did this to so-and-so. And you can post that she had a triple-double. And you go to that post and look at it. It's people on there that are Caitlin Clark fans that'll be on there saying, yeah, but she got a bad attitude and she got this and she got this. So people are going to talk regardless of what you do, young people. You just got to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. And then you've got to know how to behave when a certain situation happens, when you have people questioning why are you where you're at and why. Number one, you ain't got to give nobody any conversation, but you already got your phone. So start recording. Start recording the whole thing from start to finish of what's happening. Be mindful of what you're saying because, again, hold on, I dropped the thing. Because, again, you're already being prejudged by your actions, by your words, by your tone, all of those things. Because what you want to do is make it home. What you want to do is not be the aggressor or perceived to be that. And what you want to do is make sure that your parents have a case to stand on if it comes down to you having to file litigation.
Mm. So you said something, and I'm gonna say this. I I hope that as people watch this, share, whether it's today, tomorrow, next week. I pray, and I know the sentiments of Mr. Moody, that every child make it back home this summer. That when you go out with your friends, that you come back home. That there is not another teen that's killed by senseless violence. There's not another teen that's killed by playing with a fake gun or trying to get another TikTok video or trying to get their likes to 100,000. I pray that teens make it back home, and a mother is not at her son's or daughter's casket crying. I pray that every teen be able to see their next grade and go into the new school year not thinking about I lost my friend this summer. I think about that every summer, and that's why I wanted to do this conversation, because we lose so many teens during the summer, and we lose them to just violence because they try to find something to do, and
But
in some
sometimes it's
communities,
not even, to your point, it's not even gun violence. Sometimes
right,
they want to have fun. They jump in the car with their friend and they end up having an accident. And you know what I'm saying? And that's why I tell my little cousins, my nieces and nephews, kids at the church, and all of that. If you ask your mom or dad, can I go with Joey up to Walmart? And they say, yeah, just go to Walmart. Because sometimes when we start doing other stuff, it's when things happen.
right,
So if any young people are watching this, just do what you've been told. Do what you ask. Don't do all that extra stuff. That's when something else happens. And then to the adults, sometimes we got to get involved. I remember a situation here recently where this black kid was in the store and hadn't done anything. I'm watching, you're aware of your situation, and then this person that's not black came in and started trying to harass him and ask him about what he was doing and da da da. And I told the guy, he don't owe you an explanation. I said, son, pay for what you're paying for and go on home. No, I said, he don't owe you anything. You don't own the store. You're not his mom and daddy. He can be wherever he want to be.
mm,
He free. He gonna get his stuff and he gonna go home. Well, I'm calling the police. Call him. What you gonna tell him? Because he going home, and you're not gonna put your hands on him. But and so sometimes we have to intervene as adults when we see our children being unjustly treated. Because if it was my child and another adult was there, I want them to take care of my child and make sure my child get home.
mm, mm, mm. I appreciate it, Mr. Moody. So it has come to the end of this conversation. Again, I appreciate you, Mr. Moody, for just your insight, just for everything that you said, and I look forward to possibly bringing you back on another show. But I want you to give your final thoughts. Anything that you want to say to anybody that will listen, hear this, just watching now. Just give your final thoughts, and then we'll go from there.
Well, going back to something you said, it takes a village to raise a child. And if we're going to survive, Black people, if we're going to come out of this and go into our next generation and be strong, we're going to have to become a community again. We're going to have to learn how to love one another, how to talk to one another, how to be honest to one another, and how to treat each other like brothers and sisters. All you have to do is go back to what you've been taught. And then to be humble. Sometimes we don't have humility. And instead of taking something that somebody said to you in love or for correction, we take it the wrong way. I really want to see us make it. I really want to see our community come together. But most of all, I want to see kids safe this summer. So I want you to know your surroundings, know where you're going, have a plan, have that plan, execute that plan, practice your plan, and then execute. That way, when a situation happens, you know how to respond. Be mindful of the people that you're around. Be mindful of the things you're saying online and offline, because sometimes those things catch up with you. You said something online, you just meant it as a joke, and now you're out and about and something happens. So I'm saying to all of our young people, let's be mindful. To all of our adults, let's make sure that we're doing the best we can do and being the best person we can be so we can set that example for our young people.
Thank you, Mr. Moody, for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, so again, Mr. Moody, thank you for coming on tonight. I appreciate you. Appreciate your words. I appreciate just everything that you shared on tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all for continuing to tune in. I posted. I'm so glad to have celebrate my 1 year of doing this. It's nothing but God that has gotten me to this point, because I never thought. If you asked me 3 years ago what I thought that I would have done this, and season two now, done this for a year, no. But I thank God for giving me the push, and for friends and people and mentors, and people like Mr. Moody, who have something to say, and I want them to be able to say it. So I just want to be able to use my platform for people to come on and say it. So thank you all to my first year, and I look forward to many more. So I look forward.
Congratulations on that, brother.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. So next week, we're gonna. I know it's been a while, but I tried to get some more conversations in between. But we're gonna continue to talk about entrepreneurship. I got a great guy coming on next week. We're gonna get dive into more entrepreneurship. So I look forward to that conversation. It will be conversation number 30. So definitely looking forward to that. But whether it's early morning, mid afternoon, or late at night, a cup of Joe and a conversation will always get you right. This has been Coffee and Conversation with Kevin Smith. You all have a good night.
Thanks, Kev.
Appreciate you, Mr. Moody.